Welcome back to Glen, Helen Raceway. Art Ekman and David Bailey. Jeremy McGrath has started a new streak. After his 13 consecutive Supercross victories, he has won them all as far as the motos here in the outdoors.
4 for 4 so far. It could go more than 13, I have a feeling. But Greg Albertine really is the next fastest guy out there on the racetrack. He DNF'd the first moto, Hangtown. But in the second moto, he came from about 15th place, caught up to Jeremy, took a little time out of his lead. And I would expect him to get faster as the season continues.
And he's well suited for this track, the former world champion.
Right, and he's got to have better luck. And what better place to do it than on a track like this? It's a little bit more like Europe. It's dustier, there's a lot more elevation, and not as much Supercross stuff.
Stuff? Are you kidding me?
The right word isn't always there, dang it.
Jeremy McGrath. He's won his last 9 motos going back to last year. 5 consecutive overalls.
Look at Bradshaw. He's sticking, I don't know what that is. He's trying to absorb some of that sweat in his goggles. It's something riders or people don't really notice out there, but it's obviously very hot. Rocco's getting some water poured on his back from DeCoster. That'll be cool in the beginning, but that's where all the dirt sticks.
Jeremy, a perfect 100. Emig in second place with LaRocco, Bradshaw, and Lawrence rounding out the top 5. The 32nd board is up now for moto number 1 of the 250s. Time to get serious. There you see number 2, Emig, bright new green uniform. 103, Jeff Matazovic, who just came back from the Japanese National Supercross Series. He's done that the last 2 seasons. Sideways, gate ready to drop at any moment now. As we're looking at Jeremy McGrath's machine, he rips the throttle open and gets the great start. Oh my goodness, Jeremy McGrath, a clean hole shot.
He hooked up off of that cement so good, you could tell he had the hole shot in the first 10 feet of the race.
Albertine, number 16 in second place, giving him a good go. That's Emig, number 2. Number 13 is Phil Lawrence.
Good start for Phil Lawrence. He's kind of a local hotshot around here. He's been riding good lately. Bradshaw running around the inside of the corner, way back in the pack right now.
Well, the hole shot to Jeremy McGrath. He's gotten every hole shot so far this year.
And Doug Henry's pulling some banners with him. He must have gone right off the edge of the racetrack.
Oh, in turn 2, Emig and Lawrence. Emig, whoops, sorry, sir. Emig having trouble getting back on the track, and oh, there's, it looks like Taylor.
No, Emig just a pinball out there, getting taken out by the flagger, all kinds of riders trying to get going in a hurry. That takes a lot of energy out of you, and by the time he gets through with the first lap, he's already going to be breathing hard.
Meanwhile, out of the Dust Bowl, as we barely see McGrath come through, it's Greg Albertine right behind him, the former 3-time world champion on Team Suzuki, now number 16, trying to give a challenge to Mr. Number 1.
McGrath so aggressive up that hill, charging so hard you could hear the throttle is winding out. He's also cut a lot of holes in his jersey. It looked like he jumped in a piranha tank. He's got little like inch holes cut all in the jersey. Albertine right now, though, he's right there. Different lines, but he's on Jeremy's tail.
Boy, it looked like he was headed over the hill that time. As he takes the berm, and one of our aggressive fans getting in the camera's way, Albertine trying to hug on to Jeremy McGrath here with the early going of moto number 1 in our first 250 exposure of the day.
Jeremy's lines are, I like the way he goes down that hill. He utilizes the berm, stays out of all those holes. Albertine riding right through all the holes, but he's still right on Jeremy's tail, so it doesn't matter. He's muscling through them.
Well, it's obvious that not only is Jeremy now winning outdoors after winning his first national outdoor title last year, but it is fun for him.
Well, it's fun because he's in shape now. And it was no fun for him to try to miss all the holes and get passed by LaRocco and Kudrowski all those races in the past couple of years. But now he's got the confidence to ride right through the rough stuff. And it's taken him a lap or two, right, looks like right now, to find his rhythm. He looks real aggressive, but he's made a few mistakes, and that's allowed Albertine to stay right there.
Albertine with good confidence in the outdoors, similar to his European experiences we mentioned earlier.
Well, in the indoors, I just don't think he has the finesse yet, and he's taken too many chances indoors.
Mike LaRocco, they say it's ignition problems. He's talking it over with his dad, his mechanic. And LaRocco going back on the course.
Yeah, that's no good. The first lap, I mean, he's already going to be probably, there's 40 guys in the race. I would be inclined to think that he's going to be 40th right now. And this first moto, he's going to lose a lot of points, even if he can get back going. See the lead now that McGrath and Albertine enjoy. Only a couple laps into the book, lap and a half rather, and can't even see third place. So.
And to Albertine's credit, only a 2-second lead for Jeremy McGrath. So it's McGrath and Albertine, your top two runners with Swank, and Kelly Andrus, number 611 from Clements, California, in fourth. ESPN2 is being brought to you by Dunlop. Simply the best for your bike. We are back. Art Ekman, David Bailey, Marty Reed down in the mechanics area right now. Moto number 1 of the 250s. Jeremy McGrath out in front. But Greg Albertine is still sticking with the defending champion.
Well, this reminds me of the first moto of the season at Gainesville, where Albertine was right there with Jeremy until he just little by little started slipping back, eventually went down. Right here, he looks pretty good. This isn't the kind of track that I would expect Jeremy to really shine on. I would expect, actually, Albertine would be a lot more comfortable on this fast track. It doesn't really have much Supercross stuff. Just hold the throttle wide open, slide, hit the bumps, and do the best you can. That's in the favor of Albertine.
Getting further removed from Supercross, Albertine says it's a lot easier with these kind of successes against your top riders to motivate yourself during the week.
True, and that jump they just came over, the stuff that is sort of like a Supercross, you can see how much better Jeremy is. He clears that whole hill before they start up into this climb, and Albertine kind of lands on the top, scrubs off a little speed.
There was some question coming into this first moto about McGrath's knee. Oh, and McGrath spins down. Albertine is in first place. What a development.
Listen to the crowd, too. They love it. They want to see a challenge. Everyone, I don't think people want to see Jeremy get beat, but they do want to see him have to push hard and to win the race.
At the top of the horseshoe, Jeremy washed out a bit, stayed up, kept the motor running, and Greg Albertine is now our new leader.
Look at the crowd cheering Jeremy on. They want to see a battle. They're going to get it. Jeremy's not going to give up. He's going to give Albertine everything he's got. We'll get a chance to see what he's made of now.
Jeremy McGrath in second place in hot pursuit now. It's going to be a real test if that knee, and there's Ian Harrison, the mechanic. Stay cool, Skip Norfolk tells Jeremy.
Yeah, Ian was pretty excited. Yeah, you know, he's screaming. He loves to see his rider out in front of McGrath. And this isn't over yet, that's for sure.
What a loyal crew member Ian has been throughout the ups and many downs for Albertine here in America. Picking it up in a battle for fourth place now, Doug Henry getting the challenge from Nolene's Kyle Lewis, and then Bradshaw comes into the picture, David.
Yeah, Bradshaw looks strong. He's putting the pressure on both these guys, and Henry's got banners wrapped around his front wheel. No doubt that's getting into the front brake, and he probably has no front brake. That plastic melts in there, and you don't get anything when you pull on the lever.
Oh, boy, I can't imagine going down that downhill without a front brake. I just can't do it. Albie in first place, Showtime in second, Brian Swank in third, and this is the battle for fourth. Doug Henry, Kyle Lewis, and Bradshaw.
And here's that big downhill we were just talking about coming down. If he doesn't have much of a front brake or any at all, he's going to have a tough time getting stopped for this corner.
If one of those mammoth ruts doesn't put him out of the race and stop him altogether, but he took a wide sliding turn there.
And Bradshaw, with the better line of the three, goes all the way wide, taking advantage of these guys kind of getting each other's way right now. He can go pretty much wherever he wants.
Henry still hanging on to fourth place now as we get a triad challenge. Lewis to the inside at the slow portion on that real tight turn. Lewis moving into fourth. Henry fifth, Bradshaw in sixth.
They're coming around to get into that whoop-de-doo section. I'd be surprised if Bradshaw can't get around Henry here pretty quick. Henry doesn't appear to be riding as good as I've seen him ride, but he's holding off Bradshaw right now. Lewis, I'm impressed. He's riding pretty good right now. Got around him. He's got a little breathing room now.
Former Mickey Thompson winner, tough in the outdoors. He's a tough individual anyway. Henry kind of reaching a plateau. Hasn't reached his expectations, but to many, it's a miracle he's on a bike right now.
Well, he is doing pretty good, but I don't think his results really show how well he's done so far this season. In his comeback, he's been up front a lot like he is here. He's hole shot quite a few of the indoor races, and it's just been stupid little things that have happened to him, getting in pile-ups and other riders knocking him down. He's made a few mistakes on his own to drop him way back in the pack, and not reflect his speed, finishing in 17th, let's say, when he could have been maybe 4th or 5th.
I've always heard a racing theory that if you're out 6 to 8 weeks, it takes at least that to get back.
Well, he won't be back then until the Bud's Creek round. So
that's my point.
Yeah, and I think if I were him and got back to Bud's Creek, that big hill would be bothering me. I wouldn't even get any air over that. Look at Bradshaw, real aggressive up that hill, swapping around a little bit. Doesn't bother him though. He makes the pass.
And so Greg Albertine holds on to the lead with Jeremy McGrath right on his tail. Brian Swink in 3rd. Lewis and Bradshaw moving into 5th. We'll be back in a moment. We are back at Glen Ellen Raceway near San Bernardino, California. Art Ekman, David Bailey, Marty Reed. Jeff Emig is making an incredible run. You see him there. He's just past Bradshaw, going into 5th place. And when you consider that he collided with Phil Lawrence on the first lap and got into a very bad position, it's an incredible run.
It sure is. And you remember the last couple of laps, we were on this battle with Bradshaw and Lewis, and we didn't even see Emig. And all of a sudden now, he just reeled these guys in. He's already around Bradshaw. It seems inevitable. He's going to get Lewis here pretty quick.
Emig does have that ability on the outdoors to ride on the edge.
Well, also when you go down in the first corner or the first lap, a lot of times you just get up and you're so mad. You don't care about anything. You don't think about riding nervous or with your arms pumped up. You just have nothing to lose. So you ride a lot better a lot of times than you do if you get the whole shot.
Boy, going through the pack like that, though, he had to eat a lot of dust.
Yeah, he's going to be tired after this moto for sure, but every point really counts in this championship series, and he's got to work his way up there and just see what he's got left in the second moto.
Kyle Lewis, the probable next victim of number 2, Jeff Emig. Emig very fast. Lewis steady, strong, but not as fast as Jeff Emig. Also, Phil Lawrence is making his way up through the pack after that first lap crash.
Yeah, they're both riding good. Emig, a little bit stronger of the two, a little bit better bike, too, perhaps. And as they work through this whoop section, look at Lewis wheeling about 4 or 5 of those bumps through there. I don't know if he can do that every lap. It takes a lot of energy to hold the front wheel up like that.
Great crowd interest, and Jeff Emig has always told us how much he enjoys motocross crowds. He said last week he'd like to go incognito amongst them one day, and I asked him about his disguise.
My costume. Well, I heard tell that Bob Hanna went up on the hill at a Unadilla in a rent-a-car dressed as a woman. So I'm not real sure that I would go that far, but maybe a fake beard and some long hair, and some dark sunglasses or something. That might be, that might be the trick there. But Hanna, he's a little freak anyway. Sorry, Bob.
He was only kidding.
I would never call Bob Hanna a freak.
You'd never be able to get away with it, would you, Dave?
No, I have too much respect for that guy. Emig never raced against Bob, he just hears stories, and I can understand what, he doesn't have the same outlook on Bob that I would have, but Bob's pretty amazing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he wore a dress anywhere. And if that's freaky, well, okay, I'll go along with it.
Did David Bailey do anything crazy like that?
No,
Did you ever go up into the stands or into the crowd?
I've been up in the crowd 1 year before Anaheim Stadium, 1982. I broke my foot right before the race, and I went and watched the race from the upper level, and it was pretty neat to sit amongst the crowd and hear how much they get into it.
Here he goes. Jeff Emig on the move, trying to pass Kyle Lewis, number 11, has the inside shot. Good, clean pass. Lewis trying to coattail him, though.
Well, he's going to be way on the tips of those coattails in a minute because Emig's already starting to pull away. Jeff riding fantastic, and he's lucky he didn't bend anything in that crash. It appears that everything's pretty straight. And you see in the air over that plateau, he's looking over around the racetrack, finding out, okay, I got this guy. Now, where's my next victim? And that's going to be Brian Swink. And right now, he doesn't have any view of him. He's got to look way across the racetrack to see him.
Well, about the only thing Emig bent was that flagman's wallet, his back pocket there. Jeremy McGrath in second place in pursuit of this young man. Team Suzuki's Greg Albertine. His finest race of the year in this early season. 3rd round of the AMA National Outdoor Season.
He's got a pretty good lead, too, on McGrath right now. So, the rumors of Jeremy's knee being a little bit of a problem. He wasn't here, as we already pointed out, for press day or for yesterday's practice. And, maybe he's just giving it all he's got, and Albertine's got a little more.
Greg Albertine, after seeing so many flat tires in qualifying, etc., has gone with the foam-filled inner tire, and which he says is makes it a little more sluggish.
Oh, it's going to make it a little heavier. The acceleration may be just a little different. The bike's going to react a little different. But he's probably used it before. Europe, flat tires are a little more common because of the conditions. You're running across big rocks, tree roots, and they don't prep the tracks quite as nice over there as they do here in the States.
Albertine, a sizable lead on Jeremy McGrath as he passes the lapper.
Starting to get a little sloppy. He came over that jump, went way on the edge of the track, and he looks...
And the action from Glen, Helen, it's moto number 1 of the big 250s. Out in front, Greg Albertine, followed by Jeremy McGrath. Here is the real battle, though, at this moment.
Wow, look at Emig. He flew down there. He didn't even let off. He held it wide open through the bottom, bottomed out. But look at the time he made up on Swink.
Brian Swink, of Honda of Troy, number 23, has run an excellent race. He was so alone in third place, we really haven't mentioned him throughout the entire race.
Yeah, sorry, Brian. You know what happens, though, a lot of times you get out there kind of by yourself. You're not able to see the guys in front of you.
Here goes Emig.
Yeah,
he's going to see him now.
Yeah, he will. He'll see the back of him probably quite a bit. But you get out there stuck, and you really aren't able to stay in touch with anybody in front of you, and all of a sudden somebody starts catching you, and you have to try to change your pace, and it's really tough to do. Emig right now is just a lot quicker.
Well, he's a favorite here, too. You saw the fans reaching over as he went by. But Swank, in all, to give him full credit, he's had the flu all week long. And to fade here toward the race's end might be expected.
Well, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there. It's tough to race out here when you're healthy. And to have a sickness like that all week, in one way you could look at it and think that he might be fresh. But I've been sick before, and it's no fun to try to ride like that.
Brian Emig in pretty good position, though. And going down is Greg Albertine. Unbelievable. He had a sizable lead on Jeremy McGrath, and he gave Jeremy McGrath on a silver platter the lead here in moto number 1.
I don't believe it. It's almost time to get the training wheels out for Greg Albertine. I talked to him before this race, in fact, and he's so determined, and is so willing to learn and to try anything, and he's not going to give up until he's able to win. He's so determined, but maybe in some cases a little bit too determined, and it's hard to tell why he went down there. It just seemed kind of like a little bit of a brain fade, and the front end just washed out.
Yes, the washout puts him in second place. He got up quickly, though, and the two were so far out in front of Brian Swank and Jeff Emig that he still has a good shot at holding on to second place. The race nearing its end.
Well, he's going to be kicking himself after this moto. I mean, he's still ridden fantastic. To fall and get second is still a great performance, but boy, he sure had it all. Seemed like he had it in the bag and let it all slip away once again.
Was looking for his first win, really. He had a second place in the second moto at Hangtown near Sacramento in the last round.
Well, it is a gift for Jeremy. I mean, Jeremy probably can't believe it either, and Jeremy was starting to catch up to him a little bit, applying that pressure. Albertine probably saw that on the board, realized maybe I had to step it up just a little, and that might have been the difference. Right now he's lapping Phil Lawrence, who went down the first lap. So that gives you an idea how far up into the field he's starting to lap.
Hard-fought victory, though, for Jeremy McGrath, even though he was handed the lead this time.
Well, he may have applied the pressure to inherit that lead, as I just pointed out. You know, sometimes you could look at that as being lucky, or you could look at it as creating your own luck by letting Albertine know that, hey, you may be getting tired, but if you slack off, I'm going to be right there in the last lap. No one wants that to happen, and Albertine probably tried to pick it up a little bit and went down.
Final lap as the more than 15,000 fans cheering on Jeremy McGrath. Jeremy McGrath likes to look at this track as his home track as far as the outdoors.
Well, it's a lot of guys' home track, really, but Jeremy does live close by. He's ridden out here quite a bit. And Bradshaw actually rode out here quite a bit before he made his comeback last year. Out here riding with the Yamaha guys. I remember talking to Ali Seymour, who was out there with Damon, said he looked great. And so, you know, there's a lot of guys that have ridden on this track, but today it's completely different than it's been in the past.
So Jeremy McGrath, well on his way to keeping his record perfect. After moto wins in the first and second rounds, he starts off round number 3 with a sizable lead. big enough to wave to the fans.
Yeah, saluting the fans, and he can. He's got the luxury now because Albertine really slacked off once he went down, understandably, and now Jeremy can ride this last lap, having a good time, and emotionally, he's got to be feeling great. Wondering if he was going to be able to pull it off, and all of a sudden having it handed to him, and he can ride relaxed, save some energy on this last lap.
Well, that camera shot at the top of the hill darn near puts you right down the barrel of that rider. He's coming right at you. Great shot.
Well, Jeremy's got a different line, too, than most of the other guys, where he rides right out into the camera view. Right there, he's going wide again, just so he can get a good run at this plateau, throw it sideways, and give those fans what they came to see.
Jeremy with still one more Supercross on the schedule at Denver, and is going to try for his 14th Supercross win in 15 events. But here in the outdoors, he's keeping his perfect string alive of moto victories so far. Jeremy McGrath, just an incredible, incredible story. And even the fans that know nothing about motorcycle racing now know the name of Jeremy McGrath for his domination of the sport.
13 in a row in the indoors, 5 in a row so far outdoors. It looks like that could be as many as 13, if maybe more, by the end of the season.
And, of course, he won the last 5 straight motos last year in this series. So if you want to go back to last year, it's even more impressive. The checkered flag, moto number 1, the winner, Jeremy McGrath. And we'll be back in a moment. AMA Motocross on ESPN2 is being brought to you by Splitfire. Enter the performance zone. Splitfire Performance V Spark Plug. A hot and dusty day in San Bernardino as the crowd now moving around a bit after Moto 1 of the 250s. Both the top riders going down, McGrath and Albertine. McGrath taking advantage of Albies last fall. As we see the top 10, let's go to Marty.
Okay, I'll tell you what. You look like you have been through a war out there.
Yeah, the track was really rough, and you know, I was right in front of Albie, and I fell up there on the hill, and he went by. I just tried to ride real smooth behind him and not let him get too far away, and then, you know, I was just riding my own race, and I caught up to him, and he ended up falling down, so I guess change of the guard there.
Were you resigned to second place there?
Well, I was sitting in second, cruising, trying to pace myself because I knew my knee was a little bit injured, and, you know, actually it felt a lot better that time than in practice because I think it's a little bit more hot, it's a little more loose, and, you know, I'm looking forward to second moto. I wasn't tired.
Well, we'll find out if that knee stiffens up before Moto 2. Good luck.
I wasn't tired. Bad news for the other riders. Jeff Emig, though, riding with abandonment to third place. And Marty Reed is now with Jeff.
After going down in the first lap to come back from like 24th to 3rd, great run.
Yeah, I just got a little bit outside of a berm there on that first lap and, you know, laid it down, and it was super dusty. I mean, I couldn't see nothing for about 5 laps. It was really dusty, you know, and it was kind of putting behind the guys, and that's why I didn't make it up to the front as fast as what I would have liked to.
Got to give you a boost heading into the second moto now, knowing that you can cover that distance.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I feel great, so, you know, we'll just go back, you know, and get a better start this next time and not have to worry about nobody. That'd be the best thing.
The last place finisher of the race probably not as disappointed as number 16, Greg Albertine, who took a second place finish.
Greg, take us through what happened.
Well, I got a pretty good start. I was right behind Jeremy and, you know, just pushing him a little bit, and he started making some pretty big mistakes, and then he went down. And I pulled a nice lead, and I just started battling a little bit. I'm running Musa, so I didn't get a punch, and you know, I was battling a little bit with control out there. And came into the one turn, next thing I knew, I was on the ground. But Jeremy rode a really strong race. I got tired towards the end. It's incredibly hot out here. But my RM250 is just performing great, and I want to thank the team.
It was encouraging anyway. Time to regroup for Greg Albertine and the bunch, as we'll be back with Moto number 2 in a moment.
Can your radio do this? Only one radio can give you stereo sound this big, yet is small enough to fit almost anywhere. The extraordinary new Wave Radio from Bose. Press the remote control and hear sound from a radio like you've never heard before. Big, rich sound that fills the room. You hear music the way it was meant to be heard. Clear, full, incredibly lifelike. You've got to hear the Wave Radio to believe it. And now you can, in your own home. Satisfaction guaranteed. Call us toll-free to learn how, and we'll deliver the Wave Radio to your door. Experience big stereo sound from a radio. Call today for more information. It will make a difference in the way you listen to music. A big difference.
Oh, he's a clinical psychologist, green boy. An X-Game competitor of the highest order. Balance, split, second, timing, and multiple body piercings. Oh, Sultan of the street sits there alone. Eisenberg, the skater not known for his triple lutses, but for his cobra.
And Mr. Don Cornelius, we ain't talking no new dance.
The X Games, coming soon.
It's our Honda riding tip with champion mechanic Skip Norfolk.
During the outdoors, Jeremy will come in and sometimes say, you know, I just can't pull the hill in third gear. Well, your bike's in between gears. So what you have to determine is if you can make second gear longer or if you can make second gear shorter so it'll allow you to pull third gear. The way you can do that is by changing the rear sprocket. If you go up one tooth on the rear sprocket, in a sense, you'll make second and third gear closer together. If you go down one tooth on your rear sprocket, you'll, in a sense, make second and third gear a little bit longer. So what you need to do is you need to sit down, find out where on the track you're having the problem, what direction you need to go in, and make that adjustment accordingly. For the Honda 1-800-COLLECT Box Racing Team, I'm Skip Norfolk.
A lot more to it than meets the eye, David Bailey.
There's a skillion things you got to do to keep that bike dialed in, and Skip knows how to do it. When Jeremy can't think of something, Skip and everybody else at Honda is thinking about it for him. So great package they have over there. Damon Bradshaw trying to warm up that tire for the start.
After a sixth-place finish in the first moto, Jeremy McGrath, of course, looking for a perfect record out of San Bernardino. And Jeff Emig.
It's like that. I'm trying to figure out what his mechanic has there. I think that's gas. Might be gas to just try to top off that tank. Make sure you have enough fuel to go to the distance. Jeff changing over to the blue this moto. See if that has any better luck for him. Warming up his tire as well. Yeah, it's kind of give and take. You know, you can sit there and burn the tire out like that. Look at all the rubber falling off on the ground, though. You wear off the sharp edges of those knobs, and then you pay the price out there on the racetrack. But the start is probably 70% of the race, so it's smart to do it there.
Okay, the 30-second board up. And the riders now, it's get nervous time, except for those who are confident that they can win the race, of course. Kyle Lewis, number 11. There's Emig, 2. Jimmy Button, 100. Bradshaw, 28. McGrath. 103 is Natasevich. As we mentioned earlier, he races in Japan most of the year, comes back for selected races. And we're about set to go for our second moto in this hot and dusty land of San Bernardino. Emig with a pretty good start. Doug Henry, Phil Lawrence, and Emig all with good starts, but it's Jeremy McGrath once again with the whole shot into the first turn. Somebody goes down there in the back of the pack as we go to the front of the pack now. Jeremy. 15 is Doug Henry, former teammates. 13, Phil Lawrence. There's Greg Albertine, and Albertine goes down.
I don't believe it.
In the first turn, Albertine is down.
Takes out his teammate, number 8, Larocco. Had nowhere to go, ran into the back of his bike. I don't know if he did any damage to it, but there goes Team Suzuki.
All in one turn.
So Albertine with a much different start this moto. He had it all going for him, and just little mistakes. I can't figure out what it is about Greg, but he's got speed. It seems like every time I mention his name, I mention the fact that he can't keep it on two wheels. But shoot, he's not proving me wrong. It's just a matter of time before he gets it all together.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. He went down pretty hard.
Yeah.
If the bike is damaged at all.
There's Larocco. Look at how dusty it is. It's impossible to even see, but he's trying to work his way through the back markers. And in contrast to that, look how nice and clear it is out front for Jeremy.
Emig looks like he'll have another battle with Lawrence here pretty soon as we take a look at the field, picking different lines through the Dust Bowl.
Now, there's a couple of good lines there. One on the far left, one on the far right. Look at Jeremy all the way up over that double jump. Taps the brake in the air just to get the rear wheel over it. Lawrence, 16th in the first moto. He started working his way up, and then he just sort of hit the wall. And, I would look for him in this moto to do quite a bit better. Obviously, with a better start, that's going to be easy. But Emig is really putting the pressure on him right now.
Jeremy McGrath already with a 4-second lead here in Moto 2. as the battle is behind him. Henry, Lawrence, and then Emig. Here you get a good idea as to the gap between first and second place. McGrath just in perfect form.
Lawrence cutting off Emig coming down that hill. Felt him on the inside, moved all the way over to protect that line. So these guys in a good battle. If they don't knock each other down, it'll be a lot better. The first moto, they really started off in the back.
Doug Henry refusing to let go. Second place easily right now. In fact, he's making it tough on Emig and company.
Oh, he made it tough on Lewis and his teammate Bradshaw in the first moto. Look how far Emig jumps off that jump. And that takes it out of you after a while. You fly off a jump like that, you've got to land on the brakes for the corner. Front end slaps down like that. And he's going to try everything he can because he wants to challenge Jeremy. He wants to get up there. Remember the first round at Gainesville? He was right there, had a chance in the last couple of laps to get around him.
Okay, Emig cuts to the inside of number 15, Doug Henry, and moves into second place finally. Here comes Lewis on the run.
Lewis back in there again. All four of these guys real close.
McGrath, Emig, and Henry are top three as we'll take a break before we get back to moto number 2 from San Bernardino. We are back looking at the battle for second, third, and fourth. As way out in front is Jeremy McGrath. This is a heated battle, however, as Phil Lawrence is trying to get around Doug Henry, number 15. Lawrence with a good race on his hands this time around. In the first moto, of course, colliding with Emig early, putting him way back and had to charge up or try to charge up through the pack. Right now, Lawrence has his hands full as Emig, Henry, and Lawrence battle it out along with Kyle Lewis, number 11.
Look at Lawrence's lines. Went all the way across the outside of the track to jump that double, then came about back to the inside, almost took the front wheel out of Lewis as he went back through there. Lewis knew he was coming, had to slow down a little bit, but he's just trying to do everything he can to get around Henry right now. Henry's riding good, and you know, he shouldn't let anybody by, but he is kind of holding up the show right now, it looks like to me.
Lawrence of the Great Western team, basically on a stock bike, and in my estimation, David Bailey, he's earned a look-see from a factory.
Oh, I think so. It looks like he's going to make the pass right here. He moves to the inside of Henry. Good move, so that moves him into third in this moto, and you know, if he hadn't gone down in the first moto, he'd have been right up in there. And, yeah, I think if Kawasaki's got room, two of their guys, Hughes and Huffman, or not Huffman, rather Emig, only have one-year contracts, so depending on what happens to them, they might have room for Phil, and he was already a factory Suzuki rider at one point, and Suzuki may have room as well. If he doesn't get a factory ride, it'd be a little disappointing.
Lewis also getting by Henry now, moves into fifth position. Here's our leader, Jeremy McGrath, and it'll be a decade before somebody else comes around the corner. There we go. Emig picking up some room on McGrath.
Yeah, he's not that far behind. Look how close this battle is. These guys have actually they stayed in touch with Emig. That section right through there watered nicely. These guys did a good job trying to keep the track watered. Look at Lewis.
Oh, Lewis, a tough ride right now, looking for fifth spot. Coming through the dust, there's Henry, and here it's like Bradshaw. Oh, Henry going off the track. Bradshaw taking advantage of it.
Right, good job by Bradshaw. He had the inside in that corner. Henry just went, got a little outside of his line, went almost off the racetrack, almost got tangled with the banners again.
Kawasaki with only one rider in this race. That's, of course, Jeff Emig. After Damon Huffman has undergone surgery, Dr. Stedman, the famous ski team doctor, working on his knee. And then, of course, Ryan Hughes in Charlotte, after he crossed the finish line, took a big crash.
Well, guys, you'll never guess who I bumped into, and boy, what a surprise. I didn't expect to see him even at the racetrack for a while. It's going to be a little hard to talk, but Ryan Hughes, the guttiest ride I have ever seen back at Charlotte when you actually fractured your jaw. Didn't know it at the time. Bring us up to date. How do you feel?
Actually, I feel good. It feels like I could ride right now, but just trying to take it easy and get things worked out, and hopefully I'll come back by Mount Morris. Next week I'm going to go out and ride and just see how it feels, and just go from there. I'm just kind of going by how it feels, and just try not to hurt myself anymore.
Tip your chin up a little bit, because this is where he took it right on the handlebar. Broke this jaw over here. You keep this up, you're going to look like one of these hockey players.
Yeah, I feel like one already. I think I can be the bad guy in some movies now, Scarface. So.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you make it back by then, I'll be there to watch. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
one of the real nice guys in racing, too.
Can you imagine that, having your jaw wired shut?
No.
I mean, okay, try.
Especially in my job.
Yeah, try and yawn. You know? I mean, you can't, the simplest thing, you can't do it anymore. It's got to be so frustrating. Look at Lewis now, putting pressure on. Yeah, it worked.
Yes.
To the inside of Lawrence, forced him wide.
Kyle Lewis, and here comes Lawrence firing back, but not firing back with as much ammunition. Kyle Lewis doing a fine, fine job in third place now.
Bradshaw right there in that battle. He seemed like maybe the quicker of the three. He's caught him from further back. I like Bradshaw's lines. Going outside, inside, maintaining a little bit more speed. Getting a face full of dirt, though, everywhere he goes from those two guys in front of him.
Big roost off the back tire of Lawrence. Lewis with his finest moto finish, number 11 in the first moto, a 5th place finish, has a chance for a better one here in the second moto.
This is where conditioning is really going to pay off. You get like the midway point towards the end of the second moto. These guys have ridden all day. They're tired. They're beaten up. Their hands are sore. You're getting chafed from the sand, getting down in your pants, your boots, and you just want this thing to be over with. The guy that wants the best condition is going to really pay off here.
You don't get a lot of time between motos either. What did you try to do, David, to refresh yourself between motos?
Well, you want to get back to the truck as soon as you can and get your gear off and get some new gear, and hopefully you've got that already laid out. My wife Gina used to take care of some of that, and so did my mechanic. But you know, you only got about an hour, and it just seems like as soon as you sit in the chair and get something cold to drink, they call the first call to the staging area for the second moto, and you're like, oh man, already? But right now, Bradshaw has apparently done the right things between motos because he's on fire right now. Look at that.
He is on fire. Coming down that big downhill jump, Damon Bradshaw is now passing Kyle Lewis in a good bar-to-bar battle.
He earned this. He went around Phil Lawrence on the outside, just smoking around the outside, did the same thing to Lewis before the downhill.
So Bradshaw has moved into third, and we will be back to Glen Helen in a moment.
It's time for our Suzuki flashback, and in this one we're going to go back 10 years to Mount Morris, 1986. Jeff Ward, number 1 with the hole shot. Number 5, Rick Johnson. Number 3, Johnny O'Mara, also right in there. Number 24, sneaking past the 2 Honda riders, Billy Lyle. Rick Johnson battling up to the front, had to get around number 19, Danny Storbeck. And for those of you who may not know, Storbeck was the one who collided with Johnson when Johnson broke his wrist. There I am, wandering around in third place, wishing I could be in this battle for the lead. Jeff Ward leading Johnson to the flag in the first moto. That was Rick's first loss of the 250 national season. And the second moto is a little different. Johnson with the hole shot. Cuts everybody off. Let it wire to wire. Jeff Ward hanging on to second place, trying all he could do to hang on to Rick Johnson and get around him, but he couldn't do it. Rick went on to win the second moto and the overall, keeping his string of overall victories alive en route to his 1986 250 National Championship. That same year, Rick also won the Supercross title and finished second to him both times, but it was one of the better years for Rick Johnson.
Phil Lawrence and Larry Ward as we get back to the action at Glen Helen, moto number 2 of the 250s. Jeremy McGrath way out in front as Ward cuts inside of Lawrence. Lawrence trying to battle back, taking the long route around, and Larry gasses it into 5th position.
Larry Ward, a good strong ride. Lawrence, who had run as high as 3rd, really starting to fade now. I think that first moto crash, having to try to battle through the pack, may have taken it out of him, and it does look like he's fading. Now look at LaRocco really coming on strong after crashing in that corner in the first lap.
Right, LaRocco came out of it after the first lap in 12th position. By lap 5, he was in 8th, and now he's got a chance of finishing higher than that, 6th or maybe even 5th. Here's the pass by LaRocco into 6th.
I think he's riding like Emig did in the first moto. You just go down in the first lap like that, and you're so mad. You just get up and ride without anything to lose, and a lot of times you ride better than you do when you get a good start. You don't ride as nervous.
It looks like Albertine's given up the ghost.
Greg, this looks like a real mess. What happened?
Well, they came out of one of the turns of one of the slower riders that I was passing, kind of came over a little bit on me and pushed me a bit wide, and that was it. I went into the bannering or whatever, and that was it, and it's stuck in my wheel. Doesn't look like I can get it out. And then I had a really good start, and then Phil Lawrence screwed up in this one turn and caused me to go down. But that's racing. I ain't going to give up, man. I'm going to beat these guys.
Now there you hear the determination of Greg. I told you, he's tough. He's not going to give up. But, geez, you know, I mean, it's just one thing after another for this guy. And really messed things up for his teammate. He talked about Lawrence messing him up. He really messed up LaRocco. But LaRocco's making the best of it right now.
Well, I've never seen a prettier banner display.
Yeah, it's nice and orange. Kind of goes with the orange Suzuki S on the side.
Trying to hang in there is LaRocco as he's taking on Larry Ward. Here comes LaRocco.
What a pass.
Nice pass.
He barely got in there. The back tire almost went over the berm. Larry Ward tried to just get on the gas just enough to not leave him any room, and LaRocco found some. And now he's around him.
After clutch problems in the first moto, only 3 laps. In fact, he has done a terrific job here in Moto number 2 after hard luck at the beginning, as you mentioned, David.
Well, the Suzuki team has just had a really tough time getting things under control. These guys having bad luck going down the first corner, the first lap. A couple of weird sort of DNFs, clutch basket problems last week. Roger said he'd never seen anything like it, but hopefully they'll get it all together. LaRocco's definitely got a chance at this outdoor if he can put together good motos from here on out.
At least they've proved, David, I think, that Roger DeCoster's hard work in trying to develop the 250 program it is a more competitive bike this year.
Right. They got a much better foundation to work off of, and LaRocco's made a lot of changes this year, but you know, you got to understand that he came from Kawasaki and he's riding a completely different bike, and he's got to do whatever it takes to make him comfortable. And once he finds that combination, he's going to be a real threat because he still wants to beat Jeremy. And you know, you see Albertine on the side of the track and these guys that have trouble and have to pull off or get bad motos, and you know, I don't think it would be as bad as if Jeremy wasn't still out there winning, but they all want to beat him so bad. They're having problems. He's out there riding around the lead, crossing it up, waving to the fans, and it just really rubbed it in.
Jeremy McGrath has earned the right to rub it in, really, with great conditioning. Jeff Emig in second place right now, and it looks like he'll nail down that second place finish after a third place in the first moto for what looks like a second overall.
Yeah, second place these days is about as good as the first. Look at Jeremy, Emig, he went around that jump. I don't know what happened with the banners there, but he was able to go around that jump, set himself up good for the corner.
Jeremy McGrath headed for his 6th consecutive moto win, and we'll be back for the checkers in a moment. Here. Into the race, Glen Helen Raceway, round 3 of the AMA National Outdoor Series, and Jeremy McGrath headed once again to victory. He is ahead now by 20 seconds over Jeff Emig, and in third, Bradshaw. Lewis, an inspired performance from Lewis, a tough appearance by the no-lean rider.
No, he's obviously comfortable out here at this track. It has everything in it that he likes. He got decent starts, stayed up there, didn't make mistakes like some of the other guys did. And, you know, I wonder if Jeremy ever gets bored. You know, you got to wonder. I mean, people are already heading for the cars. The traffic jam's starting to accumulate, and they know there's no way in the world anyone's going to beat this guy. I mean, look at the lead he's got, and it's just about every week, you know, and it's not his fault that he's doing his job a little better than everyone else, but occasionally, especially for us up here, it's like, what the heck else are we going to say about this guy that we haven't already said?
Well, there's no doubt about it. He'd probably win on another machine, but would he win as much and as consistent without Skip Norfolk, without Wes McCoy, without the tremendous support that Jeremy McGrath gets on him?
That's a good point, and I think it's doubtful. I've said a million times that I don't think it's necessarily the bike that makes Honda so dominant, and I think they've won a title every year since 1982. It's the team and the experience that all those guys have at winning titles ever since 1982. I mean, that's a long time to keep winning championships, and obviously a good combination and a good motorcycle, and they seem to get lucky when they pick their riders. They pick them carefully, and the guys do the job for them.
Well, I think a rider inspires the whole team, too, as we've seen from time to time in the 125 ranks. For instance, this year, the fine performances of Wyndham and Dowd in their competitions have truly inspired Yamaha to excel each week and to go out and get a better performance.
Right, and I just wonder who the heck is going to fill Jeremy's shoes. I mean, the guy is such a showman with his Superman jumps and his knack, and the way he wins every week being so dominant. Who the heck is going to follow in those shoes? I don't know. Like, somebody, I guess, probably will eventually.
The checkered flag for the second time of the afternoon. Jeremy McGrath keeps his perfect record alive. He's 6 out of 6 in the 1996 season. Jeff Emig coming across in second place. And considering the battle that Emig had to fight through in both motos, he had to be exhausted at the end, but a good performance from Jeff.
Yeah, if you look at all the things he battled through, as you already pointed out, a third and a second overall, it's not too bad. It could have been a heck of a lot worse. Look at Albertine.
The cool head and the conditioning of Jeremy McGrath pays off once again here in Moto 2. Let's go down to Marty Reed.
For the 11th straight time on national competition in motos, you have made it to the #1 spot again. Congratulations.
Well, I thought today was going to be a little different. You know, I thought the mix-up would be different because my knee injury. But, you know, I think being so hot, it helped to get loose. And I felt really good in the moto. The heat wasn't a problem, and I feel really strong after taking a couple days off this week.
The knee, though, did it give you any twinges while you were out there at all? Because it certainly didn't look it.
No, first half I was a little intimidated by my knee, and second moto I knew that my knee was fine, so I came around and, you know, I went for it from the start, and that's where I got my lead.
Well, guys, no pain means more trouble for the rest of this field.
As they head for Mount Morris as well, McGrath, Emig, and Bradshaw. Bradshaw, Mount Morris country. That's where he broke back in off his retirement last year. Let's go back to Marty.
A very exhausted Jeff Emig. I'll tell you what, you gave it everything you had.
Yeah, well, I just didn't have much energy, I guess, in that second moto after having to put on such a charge in the first moto. I was good there for a little while, you know, when I was charging, and I just couldn't get it together. You know, I was just, you know, my forearms were just getting a little bit tired, and that's just about it.
Well, second still nothing to slouch off about. I mean, especially what a great comeback after what did happen in the first moto. I mean, a third and a second, and points are points.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's good that we got points at least. You know, we just, you know, but I'm here to win races, you know, and not to get, you know, thirds and seconds and everything else, especially on a day when I could have won because I felt fast. You know, the Kawasaki was working awesome. You know, Bridgestone gave us the tires that we needed. And, you know, I just didn't get it together, I guess. You know, all the fans here, you know, they were just great. And, you know, I'd like to thank them for it. And I'd like to wish all the mothers, happy Mother's Day, you know, along with my girlfriend also.
Taking a look at the point standings going into Mount Morris now for round 4. Jeremy McGrath, the perfect score. Damon Bradshaw in third after a 6th and 3rd today.
Well, as you can tell, third place looks as tired as first and second, but I'll tell you what, you came back strong there.
Yeah, I did. I just tried to, you know, keep pushing. The track was dry and hard to race on today. You know, I'd like to have done this a lot more times, but, you know, I'll take it.
We were talking to Steve during that second moto, and he said, yeah, he didn't like where he finished in the first one. He said he sort of had the bit between his teeth.
Yeah, I'm happy with second moto finish. I would like to have, you know, been able to race with those guys, but they're tough and they're going fast. You know, it's going to take me some time. I'm trying.
Hey, third place. I'm telling you, there's a lot of guys that still like to be right where you're at.
Thank you.
There are more guys that would rather be where Jeremy McGrath is at right now. It's the same story, it seems like, that we started the year off. A string of victories in Supercross, now a string of victories. 6 in a row as far as motos, 3 in a row as far as overalls here in the National Outdoor Series for Jeremy McGrath. Art Ekman for David Bailey and Marty Reed. Thank you for being with us. Our next show from Mount